So this is my audience. You guys can wait for the camera. Okay, so as a child, mostly young children have a fear of needles, and we've all had that moment sitting in the doctor's office when you're trying to convince your mom not to make you get the shots, and she kind of just gives you an ultimatum saying that this is what you need to do to stay healthy. And as undesirable or painful as shots may be to many young children, they are absolutely vital to childhood succession, which is why I believe that all vaccines and boosters should be required for the entrance into any U.S. school program. This is a very pressing issue in the United States, and it's discussed by many teachers and students and families, which is why I decided to speak about it today. Growing up as someone who received all of her childhood vaccines and boosters, I decided to take the standpoint that vaccines should be required. And I have done lots of research. I've researched books, articles, magazines, in order to make a well-rounded and fluid presentation today. So I'm going to be explaining three main reasons why you should get vaccinated. The first one's going to be diseases that have been eradicated and the risks of coming back, protection of your child and those that your child surrounds themselves with, and then how much time and money it actually saves your family. So many deadly diseases are at high risk of coming back. Medical professionals have worked extremely hard to eradicate many diseases like polio and measles, mumps, and rubella, and they're at a high risk of coming back. So today I'm mainly going to talk about polio, MMR, and then diphtheria, because those are the three main vaccines that have a cure to them now and once ravaged the earth. So these three diseases have all been eradicated and now have vaccines and childhood booster packs. Booster packs come in different numbers of shots. So like for example, polio has 4 doses, while MMR only has 2 and diphtheria has 5. This was cited in a CDC article in 2020. As far as being sick, you also want to have a strong immunity, and there are 4 different types of immunity. Active artificial, which is vaccines. Active natural, which is when you are just out in the natural environment and you get exposed to disease or sickness. Active natural is babies use the immunity of their mothers when they're first born. And then passive artificial is antibodies used from somebody else. This mainly occurs in sick patients like hepatitis patients that are getting blood transfusions and need the antibodies from somebody else. So as important as it is to know what diseases are preventable, you also need to know the effects of not vaccinating your children and the effects that it has on other people around the world. So even though many people may think, oh, because my child's healthy or my family is healthy, I don't need to vaccinate my children, they'll be fine. And this is absolutely not the case. You also need to be thinking about other people and others' family, because you don't know what other people's home life or situation is. So CDC actually cited in 2018 that everybody that can be vaccinated should be vaccinated because some people can't be vaccinated. This kind of explains that many babies, elders, or people with allergies can't be vaccinated, so they're not immune to the diseases that you may be carrying if you choose not to vaccinate yourself. An article written by Campbell in 2020 states that 5.2 million children under the age of 5 died of preventable diseases, half of them had died before 4 weeks old. This just chooses that parents that neglect to vaccinate their children are exposing countless numbers of young children or even elders like your grandparents or people that you may be taking care of in your home. So while these 2 points alone should be enough to convince you that vaccines should be required before going into the school system, we can also look at it from a financial standpoint. So this is vaccines are one of the biggest points that will save your family time and money, because when you get sick with a disease that could have been prevented by a vaccine, most of the time you're out of work or out of school for a week or however long it may be. Like for example, the flu mostly knocks people out for like a week. And when you think about that, that can be very financially straining to families that may only have a one parent income, and their kids might be out of school. And when you look at it from there, you might be looking at, you have to get your child tutored or stuff like that. You have to pay for pricey prescriptions or over-the-counter medications, and that gets extremely expensive, and that's when you're kind of spending a lot more money than it would be just to get the vaccine. An article in 2020 written by Vaccinate Your Children states that every $1 spent on childhood vaccine actually saves $10.90 in country debt. And then the U.S. has also saved $4.6 billion in medical costs due to vaccinations alone. So next time you're thinking of skipping a vaccine or wondering if it'll be worth it, you need to think about all the effects, including financially, with other people, and just globally, is the virus going to come back? So vaccines are a vital part of childhood health and safety, and we must consider all of the risks if we choose not to vaccinate ourselves or our children. So this is why I believe all boosters and childhood vaccines should be required before entrance into the school system. So to summarize all of the 3 points we've talked about today, diseases that have been eradicated or at risk of coming back is the first one, and we talked about polio, MMR, and stuff like that, and then the protection of your child and everyone that they come in contact with throughout the school system, as well as the people that those kids come in contact with. It's putting a ton of people at risk. And then finally, just the money and time that your family can save if you receive these vaccines. So next time you think you want to find a way out of getting a vaccine in the doctor's office with your parents, think about all the lives you're putting at risk, from young children to elderly grandmas. Done.
Yay!